Okay, I'm good too. Cool. I affirm and value morality, ethical argumentation takes act with the truth, thus understanding what it means for an ethical statement to be true, considers what accounts as an adequate form. We can only think of truth pragmatically. First, all inquiry starts with the purpose, the ultimate end of thought, the production of belief, and the satisfaction of doubt at this. It's the same to practical and see spiritual, not dissipated by doubt and ceases when belief is obtained. Doubt stimulates the mind, soul, motivated and functions to produce belief. Belief involves the establishment or nature, rule of action. Beliefs are distinguished by the different modes of action to which they give rise. They rule. Consider what effects they might have practical bearings. We conceive the object of our conception to have our conception of this object is the conception of the these effects is the conception of the object. Second, all reasoning is practically motivated. We seek for answers that alleviate the practical problem of doubt. There is no way for the mind to latch on to anything more pure fate. Doubt causes a struggle to attain belief. Not we make fancy not merely an opinion but a true opinion, but as soon as belief is reached, we are satisfied whether the belief be true or false. Nothing which does not affect the mind can be motive for mental effort. We see belief, we think true settlement of opinions, the soul end of inquiry, and the pragmatic theory spills over not into the content of ethics, but the very modes of making ethical decisions. To me, the attainment of knowledge is the end of inquiry. Is a true is of knowledge, not only the generalization of conclusions which are outcomes of inquiry. Inquiry is a continuing process, never field which is in the attainment of settled belief is the effect of continuing inquiry that defines knowledge. Thus, we cannot just look at which policies best accomplish our purposes. We must construct procedural mechanisms for social decision making that allow pragmatic advancement given changing ends and supports a pragmatic theory of democracy to be beat. Democratic political forms rest upon the idea that no person is wise or good enough to rule others without consent. All affected by social institutions must share in producing and managing them. Exclusion, participation, and suppression. Other sources must be wise or have power to decide the question and methods by which the subject may arrive at enjoyment of what is good. The foundation of democracy is not that things are complete, but that they will grow and generate progressively. Knowledge needed to guide collective action. Democratic faith is that each shall have the chance and opportunity to contribute what she is capable of contributing. Without them, individuals are not free to develop in society. Spread whatever they may contribute. Additionally, democracy is necessary for adequate social inquiry to recognize the individual. This means they preclude internal ends and means based on present time. Do we deepen this instrumental justification by taking democracy to be a form of social inquiry? The best way of dealing with them conflict of interest. The method is to bring conflicts to the open, judge, and more inclusive interest. Democratic politics is a mode and ensure of any conception of interest criteria. Solution may be hammered out in the process. This argument should not merely be interpreted instrumentally. His suggestion is also that individuality can only be expressed if the individual participates in democratic practices. Since inquiry is a constitutive part of the individual good, thus the standards of consistency with pragmatic democratic decision procedure impact calculus. It's not utilitarianism, rule utilitarian question, maximizing given ends for following a certain procedure that will further implications that link to the standard should be subject to democratic form of public deliberation. Thus, for explicit and corded evidence that links often back to pragmatism because it's been subject to peer review and democratic discussion in order to determine its legitimacy. I defend the whole resolution, but I'm willing to notify further yet. Contention. The thesis and contention is that the procedural constraints on a pragmatist approach to democratic policy refers educational spaces to protect freedom of speech. First, the constitutional protections of free speech have been achieved by a long history of pragmatist methodologies. Provides extremely strong epistemic grounds for maintaining and strengthening procedure. Mean and Elba summarize Dewey. As framers wrote about freedom of speech press assembly, they are working on a pragmatic response to specific conditions. The traction that free speech managed to sustain comes from an awareness that we live in a historical condition where free speech is easily abridged in light of the Patriot Act and contemporary government activities. Supreme Court decisions are all about particular contingent historical judgments. The Constitution is grounded in pragmatic theory. Bad ideas need to be heard. Individual writers need to read it for uncensored expression, not only to discover the contingent truth, but to observe the ultimate good. That links back to the standard of plutonium link term given the genetic and historical nature of the offense we see. Existence of belief determines nothing worth depends on genetic consideration. If we find a legitimate response to enduring conditions, we have reason to attribute worth. If we find historically the belief played a part in maintaining the integrity of social life, worth is additional. This establishes presumption. The probability is that it continues to exist simply because it continues to be necessary and function. Second, death is necessary to maintain space for individualism within educational context to eat. The demand for freedom is the need for conditions that will enable an individual to contribute to group interests and partake in its activities in ways that social guidance shall be a matter of mental attitude, not authoritative dictation of acts. Freedom means that partly by thinking and force physical quietude may be unfavorable to realization of a problem, to undertaking observations needed to define it, and performance of the experiment would test ideas. The cycle of self-activity demand opportunity for investigation and experimentation for trying out one's ideas upon things, discovering what can be done. The certain capacities of an individual are brought out under the stimulus of associating with others. This links to a standard because only by maintaining intellectual individualism do we have space for future democratic development to every individual has grown in a social medium. Responses gain meaning because she lives in the medium, accepted meanings and values through sharing activities, embodying beliefs. She acquires a mind thinking. Starts from doubt through it. Cartologists revise our conviction, reorganize. Every new idea must have its origin in an individual society governed by customs. Does not encourage development, freedom of imagination, or not easily secured. And indeed, a recognition of persons as individuals provides powerful or independent reasoning. Academic freedom of speech only through such a freedom can we respond with needed flexibility to individuals and particular persons. Rejection of free speech deny the particularity of persons. People, Phillips, and Sequel 15 summarize and quote to a Dewey strong critical position, not naturalistic comment to Plato's starting point depends upon knowledge of the infinite existence. Plato no perception of uniqueness of individuals in schools. Those under instruction are looked upon as acquiring knowledge as spectators. Students learn by being active inquirers. Each student is an individual who leads this unique trail. The teacher has the task of guiding without imposing a fixed end. And precludes role. The Bell claims that education should be defined as universal and the debate to pursue. Doing so is antithetical to a recognition of persons as individuals. And debate is a space that morphs constantly in response to ever altering ends. Third, pragmatism supports freedom of expression because freedom of expression is the only way to have a reliable and a productive radical version of society. Freedom of expression is the only viable methodology for social change left. For Isabel 98 summarizes Rorty. The difference between Rorty's postmodern and liberal ideal and counterpart exemption more decent citizens than privileging language and narrative changes the result of persuasion rather than forced reform rather than revolution. They must hope for liberal societies that will foster useful redescription and evident freedom of expression ranks among paramount objectives. The paramountcy of freedom of expression enlarges the horizon for redescription and pragmatism. Philosophy lends support to freedom of expression. Underview 1. Advocates want your theory of can infinitely be something. There's a way to check against this many theory also proceeds the evaluation of additional theory shells because it determines whether or not I can engage in theory in the first 20 theories. Drop the debate or the 1 year to try to be able to rectify a beast not completely covered substance. You must be punished. This also applies to case if I cannot engage in your criticism. We do not know if it's true. My method of education helps students become critical of existing structures and what they are taught rooting and the function of American culture is to help students see the national narrative around which their socialization is centered is open and to attempt students to develop and take themselves into people who can stand their own paths as dense and bold instead by helping students realize that despite progress, the present has the good, has become the enemy of the better. Adopting a pragmatist lens for politics and social justice is the key to social change and avoiding nihilism. Ellen memorizing quotes 4017. Organization of an inspirational liberalism is worth revisiting. You like the idea of reform, the essential to process. The first of his lectures devoted to Dewey and women. Pragmatists who understood the role of national pride in motivating change. They understood that politics is a game of competing stories about a nation's self-identity. I read everything.
Are you ready for CX?
Yeah.
So how do we know, what a legitimate procedure is under your framework?
So we looked at things that are consistent with the method of experimentation. So the stuff about democracy talks about how things that constrain what counts as legitimate pragmatist inquiry require some sort of recognition of individuality and, individuals as people who are worthy of being included within social systems.
Okay, so how do we, if there are two competing kind of procedures, how do we know which one is a better type of procedure?
We looked at the framework and see if it's consistent with the method of experimentation and, democratic deliberation that Dewey talks about.
Okay, so offense that would link to the framework would be anything that is consistent with a procedure that allows experimentation.
Sort of. I mean, it's not just, experimentation in the abstract, but experimentation within a democracy, because the framework is concerned with, what makes sense to do in politics. So
okay.
It's not individuals get to do whatever they want.
Yeah, where's the internal link in the framework for why the conclusion is that we need, democratic deliberation?
So that's the second part of the framework, which is the Dewey A, B, and Fessenstein cards.
Okay. Let's go to the underview. Do the Wardy and Illing evidence, do they have implications outside of critiques?
I wouldn't think so.
Okay. Let's go to the
function as turns to an NC or something.
That's fine. Let's go to offense. Why is the bean and elbow evidence? Why is that offense in the framework?
Because it says that historically, freedom of speech has been pragmatically useful, which provides strong epistemic grounds for protecting it, and that the Constitution is something that has been shaped pragmatically, that's more reliable.
What does it mean to be pragmatically useful?
That the consequences have been such that they achieve the purpose that individuals are trying to have them achieve. It's basically in terms of consistency with the standard. It has been useful in the past for us to have freedom of speech in order to maintain a democracy, prevent some sort of system that infringes on individuals.
Right? Okay. I guess what type of offense would turn this? Can you give me an example of an NC piece of NC offense?
But you can't use it. Do you want I can give you a turn, you can't use the turn against the app.
Well, okay. I'm just confused about how what constitutes a turn under the NC framework or the AC framework.
Well, you just say the procedure is inconsistent with a democratic method of experimentation.
Okay, thanks. I'll take that.
Wait, is TOC 5 minutes of prep?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let me know when you're good.
Wait, can you give me a second?
Yeah.
Cool, I'm good.
Nina, you good?
Yep.
Cool. First is the framework. Use epistemic modesty to account for the non-Jewish chance that you belong in the framework debate. That's the probability the moral framework being should multiply the value of an action under that framework. Christensen, 13. Often we value arguments and we wrong conclusion. We make epistemic mistakes. We make the wrong conclusion. Make epistemic mistakes. Looking for the argument how fully cannot be expected to associate a person interested in correcting epistemic errors or not. We rational lot of confidence to be beyond impact by evidence, especially when we make epistemic mistakes by P. And epistemology concepts because labeling things more is just a function of knowledge. We need to know how we know what is right or wrong before we can make the best definition. A priori reasoning is possible, so the only epistemology based on morality experience was denied. The experience offers evidence to use and having capacity to knowledge by empirical source human continuous fascination and relying on sense to tell us something so we didn't have any capacity to substance or priori knowledge. And all humans experience the badness of pain and the goodness of pleasure. Nagel, pleasure is good and pain is bad. Everyone takes avoidance, pain and function. Pleasure is reason for action. There's no plausibility. The pleasure and pain have no value. It is impossible that I have reason to refrain from my hand, and so without some positive reason, there is nothing in itself good about having an experience you like. We cannot regard the impression of the contrary as an illusion. Thus, because each agent values their own pleasure, they must also value the pleasure of others. Should record. These times when each person thinks my happiness is valuable, it's taken as evidence with respect to each happiness value. Each person has reached to think there's the same evidence available value of happiness of another enjoys that there's from the value of one's own. Every piece of it is desired by someone taking ourselves to see the bit we see the values of valuable. We are communicating all the value of all the rest. Thus, therefore, since we have no non-arbitrary reason to value one pleasure or the pleasure of others, the standard is maximizing the spectrum of well-being. Before additionally, first is having education. Neutral first debates over what actually happens in the world, because we have to use empirics and analyze the consequences of the plan of its negative advocacy. This increases topic education with the first which is the main factor of the resolution. Thus, we learn more about the topic education, key education, because we use it and we want to talk about current events. Education is voted so reasons schools are innovative, and the only long-lasting benefit of debate. Second is exclusion. Neutral is the least exclusive base. When is the easiest to understand? Most net benefits equal when. Base when it doesn't require access to sites such as J-show and C when it's largely influenced by when, which then consider reasons exclusion consequences. We have to maximize opportunities for people to join the activity before we can read what their experience exclusion always, because people need to be in a debate to any benefit from it. Next off, counterplan tax follow college university in the United States are not restrict any constitutionally protected speech except in the case of non-consensual distribution of sexually explicit images. Next is the disadvantage of versus unique. This non-consensual distribution of sexually explicit images is constitutionally protected. The app allows it on college campuses. Goldberg 16. Sexually explicit content presents the 31st Amendment is explicit content is protected species supporting photo recognized from media published unlawfully obtained content. Explicit content is legal obtained depicts a illegal act. This thus avoids sexually explicit content to be with that consent from protected media may cause others emotional distress and counterplans all the choice perpetrators create a cultural shift. Situation on Frank's 14. A law solution is essential to deter perpetrators because it shows up in the weapon level militia actors have little incentive to plain law. A sense of massive potential perpetrators that non-consensual pornography like grave harms have real consequences to their sense of mass danger British bodies of their own. This condemnation of child pornography exemplifies our collective understand the distribution of certain sexual images are harmful and impact the non-consensual distribution of sexually explicit images causing a chilling effect for victims who are afraid to speak out in science, causes psychological and irreversible response to victims. Situation on Frank's 2. Victims struggle with anxiety and panic attacks. Non-consensual sexually explicit image distribution is domestic violence. The intimate images that will result in abuse, coercion, abuse, use of social to keep their partners under control. Many lose their jobs, schools, terminate teachers who think it picks up your line, victimize victims centralized providing and demeaning messages. And the pig turns the case. I was told in CX that often that turns the framework would be anything that would be consistent with the procedure that allows individual experimentation. Obviously, someone posting a picture of me without my consent on the internet would violate this. Additionally, if the page does not turn the app, or it is a good non-consensual sexual explicit distribution is a good thing on your framework. That's a performative dissent and a reason to vote against you because you justify things like psychological violence and sexual assault being good, which makes it be dangerously safe. Also, would mean that your definition of distraction because your framework can ignore things like assault, which is a reason to drop you because it needs to care about the real consequences of discourse. Now, case starting with the underview. First, allow new true and responses to AC spikes and paradigm issues. Key to negative charge. They try to not complete arguments because they've not been applied to my anti-strategy, which means I have no way of knowing how they'll be used. Force me to respond to them in the one I say is impossible voting because I don't know how they will function. For example, drop the rate. It might be okay if I read one shot, but not if you read first. Second is hardest to get is when he said you speak first and frame the rating can pigeonhole me specific strategies and have tons of font lines, which I waste a lot of time to because you one it will be scripted. Piece one is one your availability means to control the direction of the debate and you can boost 7 minutes of one and see offense. You can cause to impact trends and on your critique or reading your theory. Go for an RBI now. Third, drop the argument on theory. It's key to inclusion to theory debates are exclusion because they require huge backgrounds into arguing which small school debaters and minority debaters probably don't have access to. Also, obstructive from wieldation force debaters to argue against abstract rules. College debaters to leave the actually drop the argument also means that would mean that theory is a voting issue, less supporting the money, and less encourages less theory debate. Inclusivity is the most important impact because accessibility is a multiplier of fitness and education, no matter if they're only accessible to a privilege. Now framework overview on the framework. First, first there's the collapse consequences of ACE1 is that the framework is instrumental in the pursuit of truth, which means it begs basic question of the end state, i.e., truth. And this one, the only way we know whether correct procedure or if they result in the better end state, the implications that all often turns the app, and it also considers the validity of the NC framework. Second is that framework is irresolvable. There's no way to resolve the violation of pragmatic democratic decision procedure. Who better leads it, which means it begs the question of my framework, i.e., which is the better one. Third is it's infinitely regressive. If we need procedures to find truth, then we would need a procedure to find whether the procedure is to find the truth of your framework, which means your framework collapses. Fourth is your framework cannot guide action. Individuals making decisions do not know what procedure to follow, and they don't spend their time figuring out what procedures to follow. Fifth is self-defeating. If the only way to find truth is via procedurals, then we have no way of knowing if procedurals are the true way to find truth. It means it's basically the NC now, line by line. On the first CS evidence, first the individual beliefs are not always universal. The statement code evidence would indicate that objective truth doesn't guide everyone. The only truth that we have that motivates us is pain and pleasure. Second is its collapse into consequential success that we are considering more truth. The next question of that truth is acquired. Now, you say that reason is practically motivated. First, statement code evidence would indicate that no, the only thing that we are motivated by is the banishment and good display, which means to take constraint on what procedures we can have. Second, the only non-doubt we have is that pain is bad and that pleasure is good, which means only the anti-framework can act. Now, your next segment, first, some truths are objective and inevitable, i.e., pain is bad is the truth that is based on physical experience, and we do not need a procedure to access. Now on the next argument, first, this is just a one on the why it leads to democracy. This is just a one-less assertion. There's no reason why there's no interlink for why we don't look at the ends-based policy. Second is that the way we understand social institutions, so the way democracy operates is based on the consequences, i.e., we do not know what type of democracy, for example, we should use, because it begs the question of the end state of begs the question of the end state. Now on the Feinstein first statement code, we take this out. Empiricism is the only way we know that how something is right and wrong. It's not a question of instrumental. Second is it's empirically denied. We can have individual morality absent democracy. Third, this would collapse to consequentialism because it's instrumental in its pursuit of democracy.
Did you read everything?
Yeah.
Alright. When you're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
If theory debates are exclusionary, why should we use theoretically justified standards?
They'll drop the argument.
What? Like, you said
like,
that no, but you think
exclusionary if they come
exclusionary, right?
That is a reason why we should not have dropped the debater, i.e.
No, I understood that was the implication, but like the one you use for why we should use drop the debater is that like theory is exclusionary in general.
Yeah, well, that's the same one for the theoretical justification for the framework. Util is inclusionary.
Okay, but even if util is inclusionary, like, isn't it bad to force people to engage in a theoretical debate if like theory is a bad thing?
No, because they can concede the framework. The implication would be that it should not be a voting issue.
Okay, that's fine. Let's talk about Goldberg 16. So you bracketed down, like, you say explicit content and then you is protected speech, but then you don't read the part that says sexually explicit that does not rise to the level of obscenity. So, like, what does the counterplan actually solve for? Like, what sexually explicit images are not obscenity?
Wait, sorry, I don't understand the question.
Okay, so, like, you line down the card in a way that it says explicit content is speech, but you don't read the part that it says explicit speech that does not rise to the level of obscenity. Like, why are sexually explicit images that the counterplan pertains to not obscenity?
Well, the Goldberg 16 evidence is indicating that SCOTUS has ruled that sexually explicit content, i.e., revenge pornography, does not count as obscenity.
Wait, so the Supreme Court has not ruled on revenge porn, right?
Wait, sorry?
The Supreme Court hasn't ruled about whether or not, like, revenge porn is a bad thing.
No, not on revenge porn, but on other unlawfully obtained content, which Goldberg is, like, making an analogy to revenge porn.
Okay. But, like, aren't you leaving out the part of the card that says that obscenity is not protected?
I don't know why that would be relevant. The Goldberg 16 evidence
would... What sexually explicit content... Like, what sexually explicit image does not constitute obscenity?
The Goldberg 16 evidence would say revenge pornography.
Okay. That's fine. Let's talk about the answers to the case. So you say that, like, you don't understand the implication of AF spikes. Doesn't this only apply if it's, like, an offensive spike where you don't know what the violation is?
No, the argument is that I don't know how it's going to be applied. For example, I should be able to have the right in the 2NR to contest the implication. For example,
Okay, this is just a reason that you should be able to contest the implication of the spike, but not like the argument in the spike itself, right?
No, it's a reason why I should be able to contest it, because like in certain circumstances, for example, if you eat 4 shells, maybe drop the debater isn't acceptable. It's an argument for why I need to know based on the context of the 1AR.
Okay. Did you make any arguments on the spikes besides the starting prep? The ones in the speech document?
Yeah, I read 2 arguments for why it's harder to negate.
Alright, what were the arguments?
First, you can frame the debate, which means you pigeonhole me into certain strategies and have 1AR front lines. The beast point is that 1AR variability means you control the direction of the debate and can make 7 minutes of your offense relevant while mooting 7 minutes of 1 NC offense. Yeah.
Alright, what was the implication?
There wasn't any NES, but there was 1 NC.
Oh.
So the order is tune you off, bottom of the AF, pick, case.
Correctly, it'll be bottom of the AF, and then pick. When everyone's good.
I'm good.
Okay. A interpretation debaters may not read theoretically justified reasons for further standard abuse. The violation does here. Standards 1 point resolvability. Theoretical justification require a higher level justification to determine which are the best way to justify a standard, which means that it goes on forever and becomes irresolvable, which the voters since otherwise the judge has to intervene since the argument becomes incoherent. So you cannot pick the better debater. Also, always all of your arguments. Also always your arguments about Trump. The arguments, and it means that we cannot be included if the judge is arbitrarily intervening. 2 point. Philosophical education is constitutive of Lincoln Douglas debate, which means your jurisdiction is to vote against debaters who decrease the philosophical education. Also, education is enables us to justify our own beliefs and think critically about issues and determine how we should act, which always applies to a variety of situations. Also, hijacks all of your arguments. Even if utilitarianism is a good thing, it's better to learn how to justify util, since you will be able to justify outside of the context of debate, which means that it's more relevant applicable to class that education is a voter. Also, C is a voter prejudice is a voter constitutive obligation to vote for the better debater, which you cannot do the round is inherently screwed up. The debater is set up as an arbitrary feature of CR code Hamilton theory. The decision can be the interpretation of reasonable is arbitrary on the RVA, since the debaters will just be unfair in order to debate theory, so that they can move on it. Next up. Interpretation debaters may not read theoretical and substantive reasons to prefer their standard addition to epistemic modesty. If the affirmative debater only reads substantive reasons to prefer their standard abuse, the violation is all of these things. Standard reciprocity. Say epistemic modesty, which means you have the ability to generate offense on multiple playing fields, which puts me at a disadvantage since I have to generate new arguments, which means I have to kick the app in the 1 year in order to have any comparative ability to generate offense, which puts me at a disadvantage since you're more familiar with your position. Also, I have less time since you're shooting CC. Now the bottom of the app. Extend that up gets 1 year theory, otherwise you can be infinitely abusive that way. Fill up your arguments, even if it's harder to get. If you can just do literally anything that leads to a race to the bottom of norms. Also, it's definitely bad for education deterrence. That way, all of your arguments about how it is bad for engagement, since people will do less bad things in the future, which means that there will be more inclusion. Also, unfair practices or exclusive, since people don't have the ability to challenge them, which means that they're deterred from which means that they lose for arbitrary reasons. They're deterred from engaging debate, which outweighs your arguments about a drop. Which outweighs your arguments about why drop the argument is good. Also, theory is super accessible since all debaters have access to arguments that are just purely analytic and watch the rounds online, which means that it requires a lower preparation burden, which means that theory debates are not necessarily a bad thing. Also, deters for people from being unfair, which means that people do not have to read, which means that minority debaters do not have to read theory in the future, since people will be more fair, which leads to a race to the top in theory norms. You say you get new responses to. You say that you get new responses to this line. You get new responses to the implication, but if you just get to move the AC and just say you don't understand the implication of that, which means a time disadvantage, which always everything, so all arguments can be treated linearly for time. Now go to the contention. I will concede your framework. Concede that I extend the arguments about how the app collapses utilitarianism extend, but extend Phillips and Siegel 15 that restrictions of free speech neither particularly person-sensitive individuals will never listen to authoritative dictation of acts which turns against these. Since there's a restriction on uncontestable pornography, people will just do it more since they do not challenge the beliefs outweighs on longevity. Since acts outside of apologies, you don't have any solvency. Extend now go to extend Rosenfeld 98 summarizes Morty that it's the only way to have radical revision and individuals to question their own beliefs that outweighs, since the only way that people can actually criticize things like for now go to the case 1 of the case not competitive permutation of revenge towards not factually practice speech 1 point. Previous case proved that the First Amendment does not apply to non-consensual disclosure of sexual content, violating privacy rights, the violation of free speech, train, or violation of lower scrutiny applies to non-consensual publication of information. information private concern with chemicals, the entertainment and entertainment for the court and publication of the sex tape. The public has no legitimate interest in seeing nude images without consent. Non-consensual disclosure would chill private expression. 2. The Supreme Court ruled that child pornography is not constitutionally protected speech. These same reasons would apply. 3. Branch point would fall under the category of obscenity. Category 50 said the Supreme Court declared was of low value, not protecting the United States court's freedom. A speech does not include the right to make or distribute obscene materials raw for the United States. Outweighs the website maintained by the administrative office of the U.S. courts on behalf of the federal judiciary. Dismissal to be accurate. 4. Even if a French court is not prohibited by the First Amendment, is consciously prohibited by confidentiality. Hotog 13. To practice, you give care of another explicit images. Videos are unlikely to be shared with intimate without explanation of confidence. Confidential law is not problematic under the First Amendment. Instead of prohibiting certain kinds of speech confidentiality, illegal enforces depression or implied promises, shared representation kinds. The card there also goes 6. Timeless manner restrictions are constitutional. This is not. This is since it's not about what the content is. So I didn't read the second part of the 6th analytic. I cut Hartzog 13 at courts, or like I didn't read the part that's like courts consider whether the victim requested confidentiality and after, and I didn't read ring. If you got that.
Wait, so you didn't read the second? Can you just send a new speech, Alex?
Yeah, after.
Thank you.
Do you want me to delete the part in the card that I didn't read? I like just to tell. That's it? Okay.
Yeah, just delete it.
Did you get the updated document?
Yeah, I'm good. outline this. Order is going to be counterplan, bottom of the F, then shells in order. Let me know when you're good.
Just give me 1 sec. I'm good.
You know you're good? This substantive debate is easy to resolve if I win that there's a risk that the counterplan is competitive bid. Solvency will definitely outweigh your really generic cross application on the framing issue on the framing issue of the competition is that if I win any risk is competitive, there's no reason you should vote affirmative now. Except the gold books exceed evidence that constitution that bench pornography is constitutionally active for full. There's over there evidence expertise recency evidence was within the past years where yours was written in 2014 and 2013. Recency is critical in the question because a descriptive claim of what the law actually is in the status quo. Be supported author qualification, author is a professor of law and fellow in Harvard Law School, writing for the Columbia Law Review. Well, your author is a Forbes blog author. Qualification are critical in the question of competition because it's a purely descriptive legal question about what the law is. We need people, obviously need people who are qualified and knowledgeable what the law is now. Now, I just think how impute the proven state laws that criminalize sexual misconduct constituted without considerable ruled on Constitution Harrison 15. States passed laws criminalizing posing and doing photographs. These are challenging and around the law and constitutionally restricted. Freedom of speech because 18 non-considered essential to sexual explicit damage to speech attached to content of sexual photos showing they mean scrutiny relatively anti-non-consensual sexual explicit image to speech attached to criminalizing protected by the Constitution by speech when the speech is discussing these usually before this empirically. When states are tried to criminalize non-consensual images, they will then Constitution if the more accurate information Constitution would not allow it. The way it is applied as now, you sit and now it is not responsive. It's just saying that it should, but not rather that the court ruling, which is what the question is now. Your U.S. court evidence just isn't responsive. It said it would do rules in obscenity, but it just say revenge pornography instead of Goldberg evidence. Way more specific. Now your hard evidence this just isn't responsive. It says that it's not making a descriptive claim about whether the Supreme Court will rule it constitutionally protect. Now also see how we do Cox application from case on contact. Yours are really generic. Additionally, we definitely resolve revenge pornography. Additionally, because people are afraid of recourse. Additionally, they're not mutually exclusive. We can still change people's mind, but it's a question of the impact, which means the substance debate definitely goes negative. Now, overview on the theory debate on the you concede that it's hard to negate because you have a 1 year ability to do some evidence of AC often. Sure, you get 1 year theory, but that wasn't the implication. The implication as for the 2 is that because it's hard to negate, you should have a negative on 1 year theory. The implication of this is that you should not allow 2-way standards weighing. You should default to 2 standards weighing to compensate the abuse. Now, second overview on the theory debate is proposed ability with Brightline of access link and objective going to be supposed to clarify my interpretation of reasonability means I just why one Brightline isolate counter-interpretation but different specific feedback theory never did subset education reading interpretation encourages for the theory much love because incentivizing understanding theory debate classes the theory to one series this always because we only have 2 months to debate a topic and a lot of things like on the world books when we same theory debates every you even if you win the theory debates are not exclusionary. That's not a reason why theory debates are good and substantive education always theory education on applicability theory would only be applicable in law for example but substantive education will last for the rest of our lives now. You only argument is always ability to opportunity but this is not true. All model reasonability means I justify one byline. You have the ability to engage if you don't publish your own public but it's showing competing interpretation is comparatively more arbitrary because it requires data but judge to analyze really intricate theory rates was still impossible to avoid now. Plus theory interpretation, counter-interpretation, the converse of the interpretation. I mean, the benefit versus theoretical norms, the interpretation points from looking at the theoretical implication of affirming just the fairness of education will eventually from us from showing abuse or looking at looking at applies theoretically. This is key to fairness of education because it's key to say good knowledge which is the most important fact in theory because that's the purpose of theory. They can say is topic education, theoretical justification for the framework to show field debates, because we can cite everyone of justification, get back down to debate, so with these substantive education outweighs field ace what is tried out. We're only 2 months to debate the topic, but we say field debate that we at least point scope field debates does not apply to most lives, all become philosophers with topic education teaches about the rest of the world now. First on resolvability, first resolvability deficits and other judges are terrible at flowing in clear modes. On to resolvability, which means it's definitely not a voter. It's like not to finish an education that will learn no one claims of communal norm, the communal norm third, no impact finish definitely always is key to validating substance. Fourth is non-unique, that would mean everything is infinitely regressive, i.e. Even if we have no theoretical justification, theory in general would rely on some normative claim. Additionally, theory norms always because it's a key to accessing theory in the first place. Now, field education, first field education is not tried out. We can read a book or take a field class. Second, turn debate is a bad form for field education. We have speech chance and blippy. It's not actual discussion which pushes our understanding. You have no want why LD is constitutive of philosophy is a constitutive of the third no usually you can self field based just fair and education was now. Next up, counter-interpretation is cognitive interpretation with a traditional like if the NC framework is consequentialist. I mean, that benefit versus strategy to episode minus the key to us plus because it's key to access the same playing field. The theoretical justification for the framework and substance education are key to test against money. Also, generally include class because it allows us to engage on a bunch of different layers. Second is net flexibility. The interpretation both the framework to onto only one layer which heals negative sides because the layer will go all in on turning it. I need episode modesty, theoretical justification, and substance education sheds to test back against one of your problem frontline advantage and test from a bunch of different perspectives. This always was possible because it was violation of what's policy, i.e. You have a flexible strategy. I don't know. You have a flexible strategy. You have a flexible strategy. And I don't know what's the policy proper. So if you can do it too, you can leave one of your theoretical justification. Theoretical justification with the framework. And we turn the counterplan which being episode of honesty goes your way. Second, you could do it too. You could put it in. You have no reason your interpretation wouldn't expect that you did it. Don't blame me because you would have had after no abuse. No reason every layer needs to be reciprocal. I.e. No RBIs is not a reciprocal. It's not a reciprocal argument, but it's pretty commonly accepted to be a poor term. Pardon me, for what it is, it's irreciprocal because it gives the average advantage. I yield over one that layer, especially because given you conceded it's hard to negate. Additionally, additionally, strategy would outweigh this because it was because we are magnitude. I do not have any conceivable strategy. Well, there's tons of alternatives. So we should win in a way.
Catherine, did you read the brightline in the speech talk?
Yes.
Cool. What was the first piece of offense on the first shell?
The theoretical justifications. That one, right? It was theoretical norms. Your interpretation prevents us from looking at the theoretical implications of our frameworks, which means we can't deter abusive frameworks or ghetto practices theoretically, which means we can't set good norms.
Okay. Wait, so the offense is just we'll have bad fill education and substance education outweighs, and then can't deter abusive frameworks?
The first was theory norms. The second was topic education, deter failed debates. Yeah, we'll have more substance education.
Okay.
Okay. The order will be an overview. First shell, bottom of the app. Okay. When everyone's good. I'm good.
I'm good.
Here's the framing issue. Catherine does not meet her brightline on theory, which means that it does not matter if she wins reasonability, but the problem is that in reasonability she justifies why we should not just be looking to theoretical debates, but rather should have strictly substantive ones, which means that all my arguments about how we should have substantive philosophical education will easily outweigh insofar as theory debates are generally a bad thing. All of her arguments about how you should evaluate the theory debate after the 2-1 hour don't make sense, given that she has that time scale outweighs everything, and obviously it would put an app at a different disadvantage, which means it's very easy for me to get access to one of your theory. So first go to the first shell. Extend the interpretation that debaters may not read theoretically justified reason to prove further standings to the violation that she does extend. First, resolvability, since it's differently aggressive, since we need to figure out the best way to justify theoretically justified standards, which instead goes on for reason. Resolvability is not a voter, since people evaluate Raj but it is logically incoherent for us to even engage in a debate if the discussion does not make any sense at all, which means that there is bad clash in education. We do not learn the way to appropriately engage each other's arguments, which outweighs everything else since learning logical skills, everything else since learning logical skills enables us to engage in arguments in the real world. Don't evaluate her arguments about how I do not get new 2-hour weighing, since she barely does any weighing in the 2-hour. Also, she has new 2-hour weighing, which means I need the ability to respond to it. Otherwise, it's irreciprocal. Now, and now extend fellow education. Fellow education is uniquely case enables us to justify how we act in every circumstance. You have conceded outweighs everything since it was largely applicable. You said that substance is important, but no, fellow education controls the internal link. Fellow education is part of substances. There are certain frameworks that are specific to certain topics. Also, substances constrained to certain frameworks and contextualized based on it, which is the main life substantive. If we have fellow education, you said that we will have field debates. We will have bad field debates because there is short time. But that's obviously not unique since we've had bad theoretically justified framework debates. Since debates are really short, but also two is that it forces us to have do research in the first, which means that at least people will have more knowledge about things. You said that you can't start pieces of frameworks, but no, people can just read theory against unfair frameworks. That's not people can read theory. People can read theory against unfair frameworks. You cannot just justify them theoretically, but also extend the argument about how it is good to have substantive discussion. Having theoretical debates means that people don't have to research ethical standards, which is a bad thing, which definitely outweighs all of your arguments down to the bottom of the AC. First, you did not disclose your theoretical justified standards, nor did you disclose epistemic modesty, nor anything, which means you do not meet your brightline, which means you automatically lose under theory, since you're definitionally unfair. But two, community interpretation is better. A point, we can prove an exception to the rule, even if we choose your reasonability brightline in other situations. We should not in this one, that enables more fairness in education. Also, you can see a deterrence on theory that people will be more fair in the future, which means that minimal, which outweighs on longevity and scope, even if we cannot have substantive discussion in this specific instance. Now, on the arguments about how it's harder to engage, first, when you consider that time skew outweighs everything, it puts me at a time disadvantage since I do not get to answer your arguments in the 2-hour, which means that you'll always win since you have more time to make arguments. Also, too, it's bad for education. You've made arguments about why education is more important since substantive discussion will outweigh all of our lives, but inability to engage with or answer arguments prevent us from critically thinking. Look at Brown breaks down really simply. Even if she wins reasonability, she definitely loses. She does not meet her point line. She does not generate sufficient offense and made arguments about why theory are bad, which would definitely take out her offensive theory. Good round.
Cool. Good debate, guys. So I will give you comments, Nina, and thoughts, and then Catherine, maybe you and I can talk after.
Yeah.
Cool. So Nina, first thought I have for you is that signposting wise, there's a couple of places where the 2AR jumps around, and it's not a huge issue for me on an Excel doc, but it might be a huge issue for other people. So like, for instance, you're going down your shell and you suddenly remember this like 2AR should get to weigh argument. And that debate sort of happens where Catherine puts it is at the bottom of the AF, right? And so that's just something I think to stay conscious of, because you can lose your judge in a world where your signposting isn't crystal clear. And so another instance where that happens is you're sort of going for the fill ed standard, you extend why it's important, and then you jump to the counterinterp and you start putting defense on topic ed, right? And I understand that it's like comparative, so obviously they go hand in hand. But I think that it would be clearer if you like on the interp proper, like when your interp, go for one of your two standards, or go for both if that's what you want, and then go to the counterinterp and put defense on theoretical norms and topic ed. Just because right now the way you're doing it, you're sort of trying to do both at once, and it makes it a messy flow. So that's one thought. Second thought is I think that the 2AR can probably go harder for like the you don't meet your reasonability brightline argument. I think that you sort of need to decide how you want to collapse, right? Like it doesn't seem like you have impact turns on the pick either. Like what would you say? Revenge porn good?
Yeah.
Which probably isn't viable ground and proves the abuse on reasonability anyways, right? Because Katherine chose a self-serving brightline that's only going to help her. And so I I don't know because right now you're dropping some defense, which will make the debate closer than you probably want it to be underneath the competing interps model for the interp counterinterp debate. Um, it would take me some time to like really sort out the line by line here, but that is something that you might want to think about. So the two biggest thoughts on the 2A are your signposting can definitely like become way easier or clearer for the judge because right now you're just jumping around a lot and you might want to consider collapsing harder to reasonability and choosing one of your two offensive arguments on the first shell instead of going for both because right now you're going for both and you're sort of dropping defense sort of like for instance on the resolvability standard Catherine's saying resolvability deficits are inevitable and your argument is like this is logically incoherent to engage if the discussion doesn't even make sense but Catherine's argument is like every discussion will be irresolvable to a degree so every discussion would be logically incoherent. I think the correct response the 2AR should be making is that it's a question of like types of irresolvable deficits, right? If a debate is irresolvable because the judge couldn't flow it, that's one thing. If the debate is irresolvable because the negative introduced a strategy that made the debate nonsense, that's a different thing. And the difference is that one is something the debaters could control and the other is something the debaters could not control, right? So basically not all resolvability deficits are created equal. Not all fairness skews are equal. Like, yeah, maybe debate is unfair or irresolvable, but there's a difference between the ways in which it becomes irresolvable. And your point is that the way that the negative went about making the debate irresolvable is what is uniquely abusive. So, like, that type of analysis will take you time. And I think that that's totally fine to do. But if I were you, I would choose one of the two standards because, like, I'm not getting a clear response to like, there's no warrant why LD debate is constitutive of Phil, or like, it's not try or die for Phil. You can like read a book or go to a college class. So like, we can still get philosophical education, right? And you're sort of doing the impact weighing for me. You're explaining why Phil Ed is key, but you're not doing as much of the link work for me. Like, why are you winning Phil Ed, and why is that like you're explaining the interaction of Phil Ed on the impact weighting debate, but you're not necessarily winning the impact of it as like a very important impact in the first place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. I think the other thought I have for you for the 1AR is I would recommend making a burden of proof argument on the counterplan that like it is her burden of proof on the competition, not yours, right? So the reason that's super strategic is because in muddled competition debates, then that is something you can really rely on to win the line by line on competition because then it means that the positive burden of proof is on the negative to prove that the pick is competitive. And if so that's one quick argument I would include. And the second other argument I would include is like some form of link or impact defense. Right now, you sort of go all in on competition and you go for case outweighs. But Katherine doesn't do a great job of articulating how like the pick means that the majority of your case offense goes away, right? Like the only unique net benefit to the case is in instances of non-consensual image distribution, which probably isn't a huge net benefit for the AF, right? Like even if the AF net benefit in the abstract is large, it's probably probably not probably not very large. Sorry, one sec. Sorry about that. Shit. So what I was saying before I just almost died is the AF net benefit is probably not large in the context of only non-consensual image distribution cases, which is what the pick reduces your offense to. And so giving yourself some form of link or impact defense there would really help you on the weighing question if substance is something you're seriously trying to execute. right?
Mhm.
And if substance is not something you're seriously trying to execute, I would just throw a third shell in there just to time suck the 2 and R.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so those are my big thoughts. I think you could also, in your redos with whoever you do drills with, or if you do them by yourself, you could also practice the 1AR where you just win the framework debate and beat the counter plan, because I think that's like an equally doable 1AR for you, and that might be more strategic if you're trying to avoid a muddled theory debate. But I do understand the strategic value of uplayering and why that's desirable.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Okay.
do you have any questions on that?
Could the 2AR have gone for substance, or probably not?
I mean, I want to say intuitively, like I've been shocked how good our front lines are on this pick, because like it just seems intuitively like if I take somebody's nudes and put them on the internet, it doesn't seem like that should be constitutional. Like I think intuition flows af on this competition question. Um,
Mhm.
I would have to read your evidence more closely. And you have a lot of weighing you sort of need to fight through. So if you don't have like add-on evidence, like I do think it's problematic your evidence is not in 2016 or 17, right? Like I would try to find more recent evidence on this question, because I think the 2 and R is pretty good on the question of like, does recency matter? Um, I think also this Harrison card is sort of concerning. Like Harrison says that literally states that criminalized posting nude photographs, which is what the counterplan prohibits, that has been overturned as unconstitutional restrictions on freedom of speech. And so if that's the case, it seems to like deny your offense or your
Yeah.
it just seems like you might be wrong on the competition question, which to me is shocking. Like it does seem like this is obscenity. It does seem like this is equivalent to child pornography. I think the 1AR is on the right track in terms of the competition press. I think you might want to try to find updated evidence on it, and I think you might want to practice the weighing debate.
Okay.
But I think also that this debate becomes way easier for you with the burden of proof argument and with impact weighing or defense. Because then if you have impact defense, like the 2AR can go for the spin of like, look, best case pick is competitive. That just means you get access to the non-consensual image distribution impact. Now it's a question of, does the case outweigh that impact?
Yeah.
And the 2 and R is not fantastic on that weighing question.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you think I could have gone for like the extension of the AF contention as like turns to the pick? Because I think she only has like 2 arguments for solvency.
What would that argument look like?
Well, like the extension of the Phillips and Siegel 15 card and Rosenfeld 98 about how like when authorities like tell people what to do, they don't listen to them and like instead never change their mindsets.
Yeah, yeah.
But maybe that wasn't fleshed. I'm not sure if it's fleshed out enough for it to be like a 2AR collapse without the judge being like, this is all new.
Yeah, it would be new in the 2AR as a collapse, but I think the 1AR, if that introduced, it could be a clever argument. I'm not sure how true it is, right? Like, I don't think, like, you have to think about the type of person who's despicable enough to take, like, presumably an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend's, like, just really private pictures and post them on the internet. Like, I don't think that person is going to be like, oh, I'm going to do this more now because the college has said that I will get in trouble if I do it, right? And so I'm not sure if your link turn would hold the test of like intuitive value. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it also wouldn't be specific to non-consensual image distribution cases. So I think neg solvency in the 2 and R can spin a specificity advantage. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that would be concerning for you.
Mm-hmm.
What I would do instead if I were you is I would just put in some arguments at the bottom of the AF that are not linking to your AF and just util net benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you know that someone's not going to engage your framework, why spend that much time reading your framework? You're just
Uh-huh.
like the AC becomes irrelevant at the end of the debate, and all you get to leverage from it is like one argument, and that one argument could become like 10 arguments if you just like predict your opponent and like switch up what your AF looks like in terms of length of substance.
Yeah. So would you cut down both framework and contention or just framework?
you have to ask yourself who you're debating, right? If that person is a framework debater who's likely to engage you on the framework, don't cut down framework. If they are a substance debater who's likely to like read a lot of turns, or who has a coaching staff that will compile a case neg to your AF that like actually is responsive, don't like read all your contention. If you're debating somebody who likes to uplayer, who likes to read theory, who likes to read critiques, I would definitely recommend shortening your AF proper, because like they're like it's very possible, especially given that 1AR theory is something that you are fantastic at. It's very possible that at the end of the debate, the AF isn't even about the AC anyways. So the question the 1AR should be asking itself when it's setting up the AC is how many non-AF specific arguments can I insert here that will be leverageable tools for the 1AR?
Mm-hmm.
And like you can, in this round, you could have inserted way more.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like in this debate, if you insert like a picks bad argument at the bottom of the AF, right, at the very least, that time sucks the one in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
I don't think so. I'll message you if I have any other questions.
Cool, great. Thanks for doing this. And if you have time to debate Parker as well, we'd love to set that up.
Oh, yeah, no, I do. Did you make a group chat with us? I don't remember.
I will follow up on that. I'm not positive. There's lots of group chats going on right now.
Yeah, I know there were some. I don't remember how many. Okay, cool.
Cool.
Thank you so much for judging. And
Yeah, no problem. Take care.
All right, you too. Bye.